You probably know Mike Tyson, right? The guy made over $400 million during his boxing career, yet somehow he ended up $23 million in debt. I mean, the guy bought exotic tigers, mansions, and a $2 million bathtub. Yeah, a bathtub. But then, I want you to consider this other guy, Ronald Read. He wasn't famous. He swept floors, he worked at a gas station, and he wore the same old clothes every day. Yet, when he died at 92 years old, he left behind $8 million in the bank. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't inherit a fortune. He just figured out the invisible rules of a game that, honestly, most of us are losing right now. Listen to me. We are taught that money is a math problem. We think it's all about formulas, spreadsheets, and logic. But it's not. Money is psychology. Every financial decision you make is controlled by a subconscious script. And here is the crazy part. You probably didn't even write that script yourself. It was handed to you in your childhood. You might be a money avoider, secretly believing you don't deserve wealth, or a money worshiper, thinking that the next million will finally make you happy. Your self-concept acts exactly like a financial thermostat. If your internal thermostat is set to $50,000 a year, and suddenly you make $100 grand, you will unconsciously sabotage yourself. You will start overspending, you will panic, and you will find a way to fall right back down to your comfort zone. To change your wealth, you don't just need a better job. You need a completely new identity. You have to shift your mindset from, I am someone who struggles with money, to, I am someone who builds and manages wealth with ease. Because as James Clear says, true change doesn't happen when you focus on the goal. It happens when you change your identity. Small, atomic habits, like saving just 1% more, or reading one page of a financial book a day, might seem invisible at first. You hit what they call the valley of disappointment, where you feel like nothing is working. But if you just stay the course, those tiny habits compound into unstoppable momentum. But let's say you fix your mindset. You start making good money. Well, now you face an even deadlier trap. Most people genuinely believe that the skills required to get rich are the exact same skills required to stay rich. Let me tell you right now, that is a fatal illusion. Getting rich requires you to be bold. You have to take massive leaps, you need wild optimism, and you have to embrace risk. But staying rich? That requires the exact opposite. It requires paranoia. It requires humility. Look at Sam Bankman-Fried. By 29, he had built FTX and was worth over $20 billion. The media called him a genius. He had won the game. But he didn't know when enough was enough. He kept taking wild, reckless risks, chasing more status and more power. And overnight, it all collapsed into bankruptcy and a jail cell. Or look at Jesse Livermore, one of the greatest stock traders in history. He made millions, lost it all, made it back, and then lost everything one final time during the Great Depression because he never learned how to play defense. You see, you don't need to be a genius every single day to build wealth. You just need to survive long enough without making a catastrophic mistake. Take Warren Buffett. He is worth over $160 billion today. But guess what? More than $156 billion of that came after his 65th birthday. His real secret isn't just picking the right stocks. His superpower is that he has been investing for over 80 years without blowing up his account. Which leads me to the most toxic disease in our modern world, the illusion of wealth. We are literally programmed to consume. We buy things to feel admired. But here is a brutal paradox. When a brand new $300,000 Ferrari pulls up next to you at a red light, Let's be honest, you don't admire the driver. You probably don't even look at their face. You just picture yourself behind the wheel. We buy expensive things to earn respect, but everyone else just uses our things to fantasize about their own respect. And the only thing you know for an absolute fact about the guy in the Ferrari is that his bank account is now $300,000 lighter. Or worse, he is drowning in debt. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the absolute fastest way to have less of it. Real wealth is silent. It's the sports car you didn't buy, the first-class upgrade you declined. It is the financial assets that haven't been converted into shiny objects to mask your insecurities. Now, how do you actually build this silent wealth? Well, you have to stop freezing in fear. As humans, we suffer from loss aversion. Losing $100 psychologically feels twice as bad as winning $100 feels. It's human nature, but you completely misunderstand how the universe of money works. Let me tell you about Heinz Berggruen. He was one of the greatest art dealers in history. Was he psychic? No. 99% of what he bought was relatively worthless. But that remaining 1%? Original Picassos. This is the secret of the elite. They understand tail events. Rare, massive outliers drive all the outcomes. Warren Buffett has owned hundreds of stocks, but almost all of his massive wealth came from just 10 of them. Even Amazon. Jeff Bezos launched the Fire Phone, and it was a massive disaster. But he didn't care, because Amazon Prime and AWS were the tail events that covered all those losses and made billions. You don't need to be perfect. You can be wrong half the time and still make a massive fortune. If you just stay in the game long enough for a tail event to hit. And when you do lose, stop calling it a loss. Reframe it as tuition. If you lose 50 grand on a bad business venture, you didn't fail. You just paid for an elite education that will eventually make you millions. But staying in the game is hard because you think you're a machine. You build these perfectly logical financial plans on an Excel spreadsheet. But guess what? Spreadsheets don't feel fear. They don't panic when the stock market suddenly crashes by 40% and wipes out half your net worth. You do. And when you panic, you sell at the bottom, locking in your own destruction. Stop trying to be coldly rational. Aim to be reasonably sustainable. A financial plan is only as good as your ability to stick with it when the world feels like it's falling apart. So, what are we actually doing all this for? Why build wealth? Most people think saving requires a tangible goal, a down payment, a new car, a vacation. But saving without a goal is the ultimate flex. Why? Because money doesn't just buy things. Money buys options. Back in 1981, a social scientist named Angus Campbell ran a massive study on happiness. Do you know what he found? The highest predictor of human happiness wasn't salary or house size or prestige. It was having control over your own life. The absolute greatest dividend that money pays is the ability to wake up every single morning and say, I can do whatever I want, when I want, with who I want, for as long as I want. It's your FU fund. It gives you the absolute power to walk away from a toxic boss, to leave a bad relationship without terror. If you make $100 an hour and you spend 2 hours cleaning your house just to save $50, you didn't save $50. You lost $150. Wealthy people understand this deeply. Money multiplies, but your time does not. Look, you can't control your luck. Bill Gates had a 1 in a million lucky break getting access to a rare computer in 1968. His brilliant friend, Kent Evans, experienced a 1 in a million stroke of risk, dying in a mountain accident before graduation. You can't copy someone else's luck, and you can't predict every risk. But you can completely control your behavior. You can rewrite your money script. You can realize that true wealth is just the gap between your ego and your income. So turn down the noise. Stop playing someone else's game. Embrace the silence of true wealth and use your money to buy back your life. If this hit home for you today, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, leave a comment below on what your biggest takeaway was, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Start taking action today, because the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. I'll see you in the next one.